Hello, my name is Podular. Happy New Year. I want to talk about video synthesis a little bit before we start this episode. Chris from Royal Media came over a few weeks back to show me his new video synthesizer app, Rhodopsin, which is available on iOS and Android, designed for live performance. Rhodopsin gives users control over 2 video oscillators, a mixer, and 3 effects in series. It has 2 built-in modulators and supports MIDI mapping. Rhodopsin allows saving up to 16 video patches with export and import functionality. You can also use Rhodopsin to take photos, record video, and project via HDMI. And it's only $10. But I gave Tim some download codes to give away, so if you want one, hit him up via email or IG. First come, first served. Now enjoy this little snippet of Tim and Chris's jam. How would you like to not only get a really cool album, but also support a good cause? Well then let me tell you about Asheville Rising, an ambient compilation to benefit hurricane relief efforts in western North Carolina, featuring Lisa Belladonna, Tom Burton, Tim from Podmod, and more. All proceeds benefit Beloved Asheville, a non-profit organization that provides much-needed assistance to the underprivileged and underserved people of Asheville, North Carolina. Beloved provides critical support such as food, housing, medical, and mental health care. Learn more at www.belovedasheville.com. Link in show notes. Hello and welcome back to Podular Modcast. This week we have Frae Frae, Frae Frae, on the show to update us on her work with the Willie Mae Rock Camp for Girls, which integrates music, technology, and STEM to empower girls and gender-expansive youth with the skills and confidence to thrive as creative leaders in a tech-driven future. She even gives us a tour of the workshop space they have in Brooklyn. So without further ado, let's get into this chat.
So Frae Frae, it's
Hi,
been a
Tim.
while.
I know. Thank you.
I always do this on air, and I hope I remember to edit this part out, but I always like to look to see when was the last time, if it's a repeat guest, because I'm guessing it's been a couple years.
Yeah, I would say 2 years.
August 31st of 2021.
Wow, that was my younger brother's birthday.
Really?
Yeah. He's a
Wow.
modular guy too.
No, really? Well, hello, modular brother.
Yes,
Of Frae.
modular bro.
Modular bro of Frae Frae. Trav, brother of Frae Frae.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah. So we've been talking about getting together again for a while, and we were both just agreeing off camera that maybe right now is the perfect time, given that the United States might very well be plummeting into a fascistic dictatorship soon. So, throughout this last week and a half, I've had a lot of conversations with friends and whatnot about the whole thing. And I just keep coming back to something that I believed before this, and just kind of with all of the, just the dissemination of information and how just the whole internet polluting reality and everything. I always come back to, I think one of the biggest bedrock issues that we have here is with our education system. And when we were talking before we started recording, like I said, we were talking about how this is maybe the perfect time. So because it's been a number of years since you've been on, for any new listeners, do you want to kind of give us the rundown of Willie Mae? And I'll actually switch over to this to your website as you start talking about it, and I can have people check it out. So
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Frae Frae. I'm a multi-hyphenate. I call myself an imaginationist. And I was a full-time composer and touring musician up until 2020. And I was offered an opportunity. Willie Mae Rock Camp was created as a space for girls to do a 1-week camp and get loud and write songs and play on a stage with a band. And I was a volunteer at the beginning of that camp. And in 2020, I was offered the opportunity to do something different with Willie Mae, and I said I would like to create a year-round STEM-based music program, tuition-free, centering Black and brown girls and gender-expansive youth, using the language of electronic music to teach the science of sound, physics, math. So I joke that our kids can play guitar and play build one too. Our kids circuit bin. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Our kids circuit bin, our kids solder, our kids work with modular, our kids do DIY builds. We have a techno futures mini camp. We have an installation mini camp where the kids code visuals using Hydra XYZ and Orca for audio.
Very cool.
They create like an immersive experience. We also have year-round programming in 15 partner locations. And
Whoa.
What started off as a summer camp with 85 kids is now a year-round program in schools and after school with summer camp and mini camps serving just shy of 700 students, tuition free.
Wow. You have quite the setup there. That is amazing. I'm looking through these pictures as I'm scrolling through. So here is all the different programs on the website.
Yes.
And you gave me a little tour there around the studio before we started, and you guys aren't messing around. I mean, look at a sequential. We got sequential stuff. We've got all I see some acid rain technology. Shout out to Seattle. I mean, you've got all the big brands and all the good stuff. Yeah. Oh, you even got some landscape stuff.
Well,
Very cool.
Landscape. First of all, Eric, they're Brooklyn. And they've been really supportive in multiple ways. When we did circuit bending, Eric brought his team over from Landscape and supervised the soldering of that because it was a younger crew of kids. Now they're working with our older crew and they're teaching soldering to them and DIY building. Now our kids aren't building DIY kits that are pre-assembled. We're putting pieces down for them and having them imagine and then build their own instrument from that.
Oh my gosh! Wow, what kind of weird stuff has come out of those sessions?
Well, we're just about to start doing that. We're going to be using some guitar pickups and some chips and some diodes. Actually,
very cool.
Eli from Mystic Circuit sent a box of just stuff that didn't work on any of the modules. He just had a box of stuff. So we're using this box of stuff and helping the kids kind of conceptualize, build, create. And we're using, because, Tim, 70% of the technology we use on a daily basis was first imagined and then written about in either science fiction stories or movies. And so we also have our kids engage in what does the sound of this potential instrument do? And the kids are coming up with these concepts of kind of like solving global warming issues or political issues or bringing unity whenever people hear this particular frequency. And it's really at a time when there potentially is going to be a tremendous amount of upheaval in the world around us, and especially for young people who don't have agency with regard to voting. For them to be able to imagine a world is offering them some level of agency, and we are so grateful to be doing this work and giving the kids a space where they can create and really just dream that any future is still possible.
Yeah. And like we were talking about before, it's needed now more than ever. And just scrolling through these pictures on the website and seeing and hearing how many students you have, and I just feel like I want to see more of this stuff everywhere in the country. And in fact, I just interviewed for this part-time teaching job with the Parks Department here in Tacoma, and I'm really crossing my fingers for it because it's there's a community center and they have their own studio.
Okay.
And they're offering free classes, drum lessons, guitar lessons. The job I interviewed for would be a DAW class. And they're really, really trying to get the community outreach thing going. And I just totally aligned. When I found that job app, like that job listing, I was like, this looks like something that I created for myself. And you know, their mission is totally aligned with you guys, like same kind of thing. Like we need to try to show as many people, especially underprivileged people who have the barrier of, you know, just their economic situation. Yeah. Access. Because really, these are all luxury products, like especially modular. They're like really just because of the cost of everything. And they're not expensive because the people who make them want to be rich. That's for sure, you know. So, you know, one of my dreams is to start something very similar to what you have going on there here in South Tacoma, and have some sort of like, you know, like what S1 does, the synth library in Portland, you know, a lending library, but also free classes or sliding scale and that kind of thing. Because you're not getting this kind of access in public schools. Most likely not. I'm sure there's some public schools out there that have some cool stuff, but generally not. And I don't see that improving in the future. So I think it's going to be up to us as community members to, you know, create these things that we want to exist for the future of America, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just kind of my aside, because I've been teaching at an electrical apprenticeship for 6 years, and I really enjoy that. But I want to find a way to teach, but have an artistic facet to it, because I think just artistic endeavors just lead to you being more creative as a person and thinking, and not just for making art, but just all around. Yeah. So.
Well, I think like I'm so grateful to be in this position and to be able to have built Willie Mae from the ground up.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that I got a chance to really kind of ask myself some questions. Like, and I definitely am not criticizing the modular world in any way, shape, or form. But I started thinking, like, you know, how do I make this appeal to a young person who is not a boutique buyer who wants to like post experiments from their basement, you know, onto Instagram, like what, and or go to a bar where everyone kind of plays are set. Like how can I take this to a new place? And for me, it was really about finding ways to connect it to things that make sense to the kid and also can inspire the kid. So we've taken a decidedly transdisciplinary approach as opposed to interdisciplinary. And I'll explain, like, one of our lessons, the kids learn about like bees and environmentalism and the importance of bees and some of the ways that we can kind of change things that we do on the daily that can help the bee population continue to be cool, right? And then we have some research from a friend of mine who was doing her doctoral work on measuring frequencies of beehives during certain times. So now the kids are they learn about hertz, they understand what a hertz is, and then they actually learn about different level frequencies that beehives resonate at, like when they're about to swarm or during a mating period. And then they recreate those frequencies using synths here in the space and an oscilloscope, right? And then they learn about the power and the healing power of sound and the drone, and how culturally there's a drone in Carnatic music, there's a drone with bagpipes, there's a drone in the blues when you think about open tunings. The reason for the open tuning is a lot of the open strings. So then now we have the cultural relevancy. The kids learn how to play like a blues, either a 12-bar blues or just a blues approach with one chord. And then the kids create a drone. We set up synths all around the studio. We had like a Lyra 8. I brought in my modular. We brought in all these different synths that can drone and had the kids create a drone using all of those synths. And then vibing here in our quadraphonic system, they wrote...
What? Do you have a quad system in there?
We have a quad system. It's 4.1 because I have a subwoofer, but then they were vibing with the drone they created, and they write in their reflection journal something that they learned, something that surprised them, and then they envision what their next step is going to be. So now they've had like a social emotional experience. They've worked together, right? Because synths can be pretty isolating. But they're collaborating. You know, they're collaborating in this process, and synths are part of what's helping us get to them and helping them find their own voice.
And thank you. You helped me remember something. I was kind of just shooting from the hip there earlier with my talking about that other job, that teaching experience and why it's important. But I think what I tried, my kind of mission as an instructor, no matter what I'm doing, is like, I think no matter what you're learning about, if you have a positive learning environment and actually have people that you can interact with and share and help understand ideas, I think that within itself, it doesn't matter what you're learning, is an extraordinarily valuable thing. And I think it's something that outside of school, and I don't know what public schools are like these days, but outside of school, there's not a lot of opportunity to get like this actually person-on-person creative thinking together. Let's solve this together and be interested in it together. Because we're, everything's so, there's two worlds now, really. There's the analog world and then there is the online world. And we're in the in-between right now, just doing what we're doing. And I feel like another very motivating thing for me is to try to literally bring people together in the same space. Because think about a lot of these teenagers, they were just coming online as human beings during the pandemic.
That's right.
They I think, they have a totally different experience with like coming into the world than we do. And even though we went through that as adults, we don't understand what that's like to go through, come online as a person then hit your teenage years, and maybe that's the first time things are really starting to get meshed together with other people. And I think I'll try not to go on too much of a diatribe, but I think the online life of social media and everything is just, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not trying to be some, Luddite or anything, but I think we just have to be mindful of the fact that maybe we're not spending as much time together as we used to, and that has utility for our personal, spiritual, mental health, whatever you want to call it, that growth,
No, well said. And I just want to say, like, I'm not doing commercials, but there were some companies that were very helpful in the beginning. And Make Noise was a great company. And also, AE Tangible Waves, and the Tangible Waves guys, I love them. We have some of their stuff. I have some of their stuff personally. They were like, how do you teach synths to kids? And I was like, you don't. You teach kids with synths. There's a difference.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
you turn them loose on them and let them kind of, get lost in the weeds a bit or something.
That's our scientific method back there behind me. It says mess around, find out.
Do you want to give us the tour real quick for the video watchers?
Okay.
Yeah. Take us around. It's an amazing space.
Okay, this is 1,500 square feet. We have a quadraphonic system. The curriculum is called Willie Mae Future Sounds. This is a 1,500 HP modular case here.
Oh my gosh.
One kid came in with her grandmother, and her grandmother's like, what are y'all patching? Like, I didn't realize y'all were sewing. And I was like, no. Check it out. So we have like some amazing guitar pedals. I'm definitely not doing a commercial, but Earthquaker rocks, Earthquaker devices. We love them.
Yeah, I love Earthquaker.
Our kids use those for synths, for experimental projects, and when they're playing guitar. This is a 18-inch singing bowl that's tuned to the exact frequency of the Schumann resonance. The kids learn about the Schumann resonance and the frequency of the earth, and it also is a grounding frequency. And so we don't teach meditation, but I'm pretty sure the decay on that is about 5 minutes, and we ask the kids to just follow the sound, Todd Barton, and so they sit quietly until they can't hear the sound anymore, and they attach sound and intention. Which comes from the blues tradition, which comes from many traditions, but we are rooted in the blues is the roots and everything else is the fruits. We're named after Willie Mae Thornton, who was just inducted into the Rock Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
Blues singer, musician. This is our soldering station. It's not quite set up for soldering right now, so don't anybody be like, what? But here we go. We've got kits and all kinds of DIY things that the students use. Over here is a collection of some of our hardware synths. And so our kids work with all of this. And also our teaching artists come in and pack mobile sound labs because we have 15 partner sites. They come and pack what they need and take it out. So we have a tremendous amount of also, every one of these devices has its own idiosyncratic workflow that is challenging.
Oh, totally.
So it's wonderful to have so much gear for the kids to learn and continue learning on. Again, the kids work transdisciplinarily, so they code, they animate, they make videos, they make film, and they produce using Ableton, and they do multi-channel pieces using Ableton and Reaper. Our advanced crew is working on 20-channel pieces. We don't have a 20-channel system here, but we're using a key, an approximator with a binaural thing out of Reaper to kind of approximate that flow. And they will be performing in June at National Sawdust, which has a Meyer Galaxy system with 20 channels. It's a beautiful space.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Again, Willie Mae, mess around, find out. Our sign-in area, we have some electronic drums over here.
Nice.
And the quad system is beautifully wired by our friend Daniel Neumann. Our other really good friend Todd Barton sent us this, Follow the Sound. And this is a VAVA ultra short throw projector that sends up this 4K. This is a Hydra XYZ that's connected to the video, so you can kind of see me. I coded this one, and it kind of modulates as you move the mouse. And this is, I love Hydra because I think Olivia Jack, could have sold it, but she kept it browser-based open source, and, she's real like that. Again, we have a lot of gear that goes out with the teaching artists, little hardware synths. We are working with, we love our chompies.
I want to try one of those.
We have 5 chompies. I have one. I supported their Kickstarter.
Nice.
I believe in the frequency of gratitude. We have books and all kinds of things around race, technology, music, and So, and then the only rule that we have in here is that drinks and food have to stay in this area for obvious reasons.
That's a good rule.
I know. And who dropped a bottle of water on a computer? This guy.
Hey, it's do as I say, not as I do, right? What a space.
Yeah.
There was something else I was just thinking of. We were going through. I just like everything you're talking about. I just have new ideas of, you should reach out to so and so. I think actually is the last guest, Dan Green from 4MS. They just released the Meta module, and I feel like that would be something that he and I talked about was how much of a good teaching tool I think that would be, because you can build patches in VCV Rack and then put them on that, and then you can kind of slowly get into modular. But there's also modules on that. You don't have to use VCV Rack. So you actually have a modular system within one module. And
yes. No, I'm very familiar with that module. I actually went to the Audio Engineering Society conference, and Dan spoke with a friend and someone that I've played in a band with, the Burnt Sugar Orchestra here in New York, Leon Gruenbaum. And Leon created the Misha, but he created, I believe when he was at Harvard, he was a math major, but he also plays piano, and he's a professional musician. He developed this tone row theory instrument that he called the Sam Chilean Chip Chip Cherie, and it was MIDI activated from keyboard. And Eventide created that and made the Misha, which was his father. So named after his father. So after doing the talk with Dan, Leon, who I have a duo project with, got the Meta module. And so we've been hanging out, and it's been pairing pretty nicely. And our kids do use VCV Rack. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's a cool module.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see, because, even though the Meta module is it's not something you can just mow a couple lawns and get, but it's under $1,000, which I know is still a lot of money for, kids, especially underprivileged kids. But it's not like far away from trying to save up for X amount of time, and then in the interim you can use VCV or something like that, because to get just a small skiff and be able to actually make music with it, you're spending at least $1,000, and then you're maybe just making some bleeps and blorps and stuff. So,
I mean, if you're lucky, but it's not what we really want to do anyway. But
right, exactly,
I think the Meta module makes me wish that VCV Rack had more modules that I love and work with already on it.
Well, you can make your own for it, but
okay,
you can program your own, and then and something I was talking with Dan about is like, so if you knew how to program your own modules for VCV Rack, like what would be the hurdle to get it onto Meta module? And Dan pretty much said, well, if you do that, get a hold of me and we can make it work. So I think that's something that I see as like a cool again, teaching opportunity if you're doing the coding thing. These are basically just ideas I've had for classes I'd like to teach if I ever get into a situation where I can build curriculum like that. But
Yeah.
so yeah, just throwing that out there. I had another. I'll think of it later. Also, I do this. This is more of just to put a pin or put a note in this, but remind me after we're done here. But I have all sorts of components, switches, all sorts of stuff that I got when I was really into the DIY thing, and it's all just sitting out in my garage. I'd be happy to send some stuff your way. And also, I got another surprise for you. So I just released with After Later Audio, KEANU, my matrix mixer here. It's a 4-channel matrix mixer, but it has onboard CV sources but you can use it as a traditional matrix mixer and break those connections.
Nice.
But you don't need 4 other modules to use this matrix mixer because it has stuff on it. So I thought that needed to exist, and I have a demo. It's pretty much the exact same thing as the market version, just a different faceplate. But if you got some space in your rack, I'd like to send you one.
That is really kind of you, and congratulations on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, doing it.
So yeah, we can talk about that later. But I also wanted to just plug KEANU out now.
KEANU, okay then.
Pardon the interruption, I just wanted to tell you about this track playing below my voice. It was made with the 4MS Meta Module, Basel Castle 2, Defense Wizard, and Time, a sequenceable digital tape machine, the Novation Circuit Tracks, for fast sec, Stairs Filter, and Mingles Mixer from After Later Audio, and finally, the KEANU Matrix Mixer from After Later Audio and Podular Modcast. You may have noticed this track is mostly drums. That is because it has been uploaded to the PodMod Discord server with the hope of creating an opportunity for us all to collaborate. Take the track and do whatever you want with it. Release it as a single, put it on your album, use it for live performances, or just have fun with it. And if you would like, we can play what you create with it on the show. Once again, thank you to 4MS, Basel, Novation, and After Later Audio for these amazing devices. And now a message from Expert Sleepers.
With the Distinct NT, we've taken everything back to square one. But every algorithm has been reconsidered and reappraised in the light of the possibilities offered by the new hardware platform. While the exact future of this module is yet to be written, one thing is certain, it will be driven by user feedback. We have an active user community, and suggestions made by users have often made it into the firmware. So we strongly encourage you to get in touch. Let us know what the Distinct NT can be for you.
Yeah, I guess I would say the same thing. I met Todd online during the 2020 thing, and then we stayed in touch, and we would just like schedule time to get on a Zoom and just like have a conversation.
I love that. I want to do that with Todd.
I really
if you're listening, Todd, let's chat.
It's just really, really fun. And we just really connected. And he loves Willie Mae. He supported Willie Mae from the beginning, and so he wrote me and was like, I am turning 75 this year, and I want to have a blowout in a sonic kind of way. And would you come to Rangeley, Colorado and improvise with me for 3 days at a place called The Tank?
Oh my God.
And are you familiar with The Tank?
Is that big kind of like where people go to get the really nice lush reverb? It's like a big
cistern.
Cistern or something?
Yeah. It's a cistern that was saved, and it has a 40-second reverb tail, and
wow.
They built a nonprofit around it, and they also have mics inside and a recording studio outside and a team that records from the outside of it. And so we flew into Salt Lake City and then drove 4 hours. And so I went to Salt Lake, and I mean, I haven't taken a trip for me that wasn't related to work. Like I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine when or work or going home, seeing
Uh-huh.
family. So I flew to Salt Lake City. I had to wait a couple hours when Todd and his daughter flew in. And then we rented a car and drove 4 hours to Rangeley, Colorado. Just this little like blink if you miss it town.
Uh-huh.
We
Uh-huh.
stayed in this hotel, had some fun community dinners. I got to meet some of Todd's friends from different places, and we would go in to the space. And Todd was so cute. He was so excited. He had a whole plan. Like he did sort of like a deep listening, exploratory exercise to introduce us to the space. And then it just was unscripted. Like everyone was so generous and collaborative. Some people would sit out, some people would add, nobody just like took over. It was like the most interesting collaborative experience that was improvisational and spontaneous with complete strangers, right?
That is so
um
cool.
Sarah and Ryan came,
Oh,
and
nice.
I was super excited because I had never met them in person.
Sarah Bell
And
Reed and Ryan
yeah,
Geffen.
yes. And I'm a fan of Ryan's blog. And of course, Sarah's, badass on multiple
Mm-hmm.
levels. And I like her
Yeah.
videos. And so I ended up getting a ride with them 4 hours back to Salt Lake City, which was a wonderful communal experience around sound and improvisation. So we recorded 3 to 6 hours a day for like 3 days. And Todd has these really beautiful recordings, and we used electronics, we used our voices. It became kind of like a fun thing. I got the auto parts store to let me borrow a barrel, and because I just decided to get
You got a
I
drum on something, right?
yeah
Because you're a
a metal
percussionist,
barrel,
like, yeah,
absolutely.
that's like
So
your primary. I mean, I don't know if
I
you have a primary, but
Yeah, I think like a lot of gigs that I do are on drums. I do play a lot of.
mhm.
I'm a multi-instrumentist, but definitely drums is a main one. So that was
Yeah,
super fun.
I've
I
seen some
met.
videos. You know your way around a kit. It's
I
you can
mean,
rock that thing.
I've been. I mean, I've been playing since I was 4. I better know my way around a
Oh,
kid.
yeah. So I just have. I don't know if you can't really see, but I have an octopad right here.
Nice.
Um, but then I had a early 2000s Roland V drum kit with like the white, you know.
Those are
So
great.
I actually just cannibalized that. So I have two of my actual drums from the V drum. So so that'll be my snare and my floor tom, and then I've got the hi hat, and then the kick drum from the V drums as well, and then 8 pads on the octopad. So that's been my little Frankenstein drum set.
That's really nice. We
Having a lot
had
of fun with it.
a V kit, some level of a V kit donated to Willie Mae, but it wouldn't stand up. It was kind of really on its last leg, and so I took
Yeah.
the pads off, and we have connected to the Pulsar 22,
Oh,
which
nice.
is
Yeah.
super fun, super
Yeah.
fun. And
I haven't used it, but I'd like to.
I also, oh, I forgot. I have a pad that I use at home a lot. I love it. It's the Nord.
Oh, the Nord drum.
Yeah, but
Yeah, those things
the
are,
pad one that's got all the
yeah.
sounds, the presets in it,
Hmm.
and you can adjust them and build new ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I think John McIntyre from Tortoise, I think he uses a Nord drum when he plays with Sam Prekop doing the Sons of stuff. I think I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. I don't know who. I'm gonna look that up, but I really love
oh yeah, if you
it.
don't know Tortoise, I think you'd really dig Tortoise. They have 3 drummers, so
Okay,
yeah, they're like
nice.
a post rock jazz instrumental group that have been from Chicago. They've been around for a long time.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you'd dig them. Um,
nice.
oh, I remembered the other thing I wanted to tell you for getting a bunch of inputs. You were talking about like 20 channels and whatnot.
Yes.
For I don't know if you've messed around with this, but for this for interfacing with modular, the Expert Sleepers ES9. You can
Oh,
get 16 channel inputs on this, all to your
uh-huh.
DAW. Because it has 14 actual ins, but then you can use a fiber cable to get your other channels, and then it has 8 outs, so you can actually route from your DAW to your modular back and forth. So I use it a lot for reamping stuff, like
Oh,
tracking
wow.
something with one patch and then reamping it, make it like through another patch of
Mm-hmm.
effects or what, like really whatever you want. And it just makes signal routing for modular and the DAW and getting them working together like really, really, really nice. So I think that would be another cool thing for you to
What
grab
what
from the studio.
what DAW do you use, or do you use a bunch?
I use Bitwig.
Oh, okay. We definitely have
Bitwig works really well with modular too, and it's kind of modular in a lot of the ways where you can add these. Like you can add not just like your typical side chain, but it's got all of these different. You can and a lot of these, well, all of their cool like side chaining plugins that are the stock Bitwig plugins, you can actually use with like outside, different developers. Just the way the system works, you can plug these things into you. Yeah, I really, really like it. So with that and the ES9, it's a
yeah.
yeah, it's
No,
made things
the
a lot
Bitwig is
more
like
interesting.
I love all the modulation possibilities
Mm-hmm.
that are
Mm-hmm.
built into that. Although it seems like Ableton's trying to catch up with some of those.
Yeah, yeah. I just I basically use Bitwig because my friend said, here, you can have my license, and because I was using Cubase and not liking it. And yeah, I like Ableton when I used it, but it's been so long. And now
Yeah,
that I am in there, but I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube being like, Bitwig over Ableton now, but I don't know.
yeah,
It's all personal preference, and I think
for sure.
to bring it back to Willie Mae and looking at all your gear, I think that is so useful because, like you said, all these different things have their own idiosyncrasies, and I think user interface is, I don't know, I don't want to like weight it for importance over anything else, but user interface is almost just as important as the sounds that you want to get out of it because you have to gel with it and
The
whatnot. So
workflow.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
just finding something that you can wrap your head around that makes sense to you and speaks to you, I think is super important. So
yeah. Yeah, I think like a lot of our kids like to use Ableton. I mean, because it's sort of a Swiss Army knife. Like you could do a bunch of
totally.
stuff, but some people just set up their tracks and hit record, and then like maybe spatialize it a little bit, to
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
pan things left or right, and get that like whatever stereo field kind of mix, and then
Hmm.
we've done quad on it, and the kids like the simpler kind of using and then building MIDI controllers and then
Definitely. Yeah.
working with
Hmm.
that. That's really fun. So
Yeah. Yeah. And simpler is always better when you're starting out, and all of this stuff with routing things through the DAW that I just talked about. If you were telling me about this 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, I just like to have the hardware. And that's, that the DAW is just for exactly what you described. But you just keep doing that for a while, and different puzzle pieces start falling in. So again, great that you have all these different things, because you could have a student in there that's really vibing with X gear, this one piece,
right,
but then they
right.
start noticing some limitations once they kind of wrap their head around it and say, wait, I think that one might be able to take me to where I wanted to go, and
Yeah.
just that.
I mean,
I guess where
accessibility.
I'm going with that is like you have to learn on your own, I think, a lot of the times. Like you can't just be, I don't know, trying to show people how they learn, like help to foster people into finding out how they think about it. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not wording
Yeah,
this very well.
it's the mess around and find out the kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of figure it out. We use Reaper a lot too because it's, the price. I mean, Reaper's what, $65 So that's really
Okay,
accessible.
that is super. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And you don't have to like do a lot of upgrading and paying for upgrades kind of thing, you know.
yeah. There was another. I'm gonna look it up really quick. There's another free DAW that somebody was that I used for a few minutes just to try to get my brother-in-law set up with it. But I think it's made by God. One of the? Is it Apollo? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It doesn't matter. I'm getting. Oh, Luna. It's called Luna, and it is free.
Oh.
So yeah, that's another class that I actually kind of am thinking about wanting to try to put together if I get this job. Is I want to teach a class where it's basically just showing all the free and cheap resources and how to look for them and how to integrate them to actually get started with making music. When you don't have a budget to get started, like even and I feel bad, even you need a computer at least. So that's like
Yeah.
the barrier of entry, like if you have a computer that's decent, we can get you going with a setup to where you can at least start making stuff and start learning about production. And then you can start thinking about, okay, what is the actual gear that will help me and how do I get that,
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
So
Yeah, our kids love koala
pawn shops
too.
too. Pawn shops are great.
Pawn
Oh,
shops for what?
pawn shops.
To get
Picking up
computers?
gear. Or just so like the other day, I always like to swing by because there's a bunch in my neighborhood, and a lot of pawn shops, if they have something that sits for every month, it goes down like X amount, and then so like I got this for like $50. This is the cheapest one I could find used is $60, but most of them are $70 to $90. So it's like you can find like old or just kind of like older versions of a popular thing. And yeah, sometimes the really cool, weird stuff sits there for a long time, so you can get it for really cheap.
It's true. Not in New York, but
Yeah,
when I'm
probably not in New
outside of
York.
New
I was thinking,
York,
yeah.
when I'm outside of New York, like when we were driving to Rangeley, we stopped in some little
Mm-hmm.
town and they wanted to go to this little restaurant. I was like, I'm gonna go in the pawn shop because, I just want to walk into like some Juno Profit Vibe or something. You
That's
know
what
what
I'm
I
always
mean?
going. Yep. I'm always looking for something that they don't know what they have. And I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. I know.
I got this the other day at a vintage mall, and it in pretty much brand new shape. It's
Oh
just this
wow, that's
old
great.
Craig recorder. It's got this cool like switch.
I remember those switches.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
these are going for like $100. I got it for $20.
Wow.
So yeah, you can be thrifty, and you can be if you're down to wheel and deal and go digging through the all the old stores. You can find some cool stuff.
Yeah, that's true. There was a moment in time when public schools were just throwing like Wurlitzers out on the street.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like
I wish I
in
knew.
Fender Rhodes, like on wheels. When the music teacher used to push them from classroom to classroom, they were just like out of here.
I want a
So
road so bad, and that is like I've been probably for 12 years now. That's one of the main reasons I go into a Goodwill or whatever every once in a while, because my friend Greg from Recovery Effects, he actually has got he throughout his life got 2 roads from
mm,
Goodwill for next to nothing.
I'm saying, yeah,
And it's like, I want that experience.
yeah, for sure. It's like Northern Lights or Shooting
Oh,
Stars or
we saw
something.
those not too long ago.
Did
Like
you get them?
I've seen them. Oh my gosh, my wife and I were out camping actually, and it was wild. Just yeah, it was. I've
New
seen
York
them.
had them.
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like they've been popping out a lot more.
Well, it's
I hadn't
weird.
seen
Did
them
you see them
ever
with the
really,
naked
but
eye? Because I heard the ones in
yeah,
New York. First of all, I didn't see them, but I heard the ones in New York were hard to see with the naked eye. But if you took a photo, then you really saw it.
yeah. So I've seen them twice this summer in that regard, and I was like in my backyard in downtown Tacoma's not too far away. I could see like purpley green, but I couldn't see any movement. But when I took a long exposure, I could really see it. But then when my wife and I were camping, um, just like a month ago, it was dancing around the sky. It looked fake. We were both just sitting there like laughing, like we feel like we're on drugs, but we're not on drugs because the sky looks like
Nice.
it's on drugs. It
Yeah.
was really cool.
Yeah. I feel you, like some acid trip vibe.
Yeah.
So what's been inspiring you lately? Anything inspiring you lately?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, this is I think it's going to sound maybe a little not selfish, but I've been very inspired by how much I have actually just wrapped my head. Like I've been doing a lot of different things with being a musician, being a producer, and also like a video editor. And these these three worlds have all kind of coalesced in a way where I feel like I really know what I'm doing in a lot of ways. I used to be just a throw paint at the wall and see what looks cool and just keep trying different things and mess around, find out has been my approach to life pretty much. But
There's worse
I've just
approaches.
yeah. Well, and that's tied to my ADHD. So I was diagnosed with that
Ah,
since you were on last, and just
okay.
that has given me a whole new perspective. And I've actually just I've gotten better at everything by actually taking the time to learn some new things and like, I've been doing it this way, but I could have done it that. I never looked things up online. I just like always had this weird, and I think it's unhealthy, this need to know I need to figure it out myself. And there's no I think that's can be fun, but if you think like that, like just try out the other way of like looking stuff up or trying to learn something. Like I've loved singing my whole life, and I've always been like I've been a singer in many bands. I love singing karaoke, and I could carry a tune, but I had no idea how the instrument at all worked. And anytime I tried to go into a higher range, um, I'd just blow my voice out. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and just practicing a lot of these new techniques. And
Yeah.
I am a better singer than I've ever been in my entire life. And I've got to a point to where I'm like, oh, I'm on the verge of becoming a good singer. I'm not even a good singer yet. So I think sorry, this is a very rambly, long approach, but I think what's
No.
been inspiring me is like, okay, I've been sitting on this idea and of this new album in my head since before I started the show.
Hmm.
And I've had this kernel of an idea, and now I feel like I finally have everything I need to actually execute on that. And I'm like 4 or 5 songs into it and really, really liking the way that it's going. And I'm not in a hurry to finish it because I want it to be what I want it to be. So that's kind of been what's been inspiring me is like learning how to take my time and learning how to like, okay, if this is what I want to do, don't get close, try to do it, you know? Um, and so I guess that's been my just like the excitement of being like, oh my God, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, that's great. I
Yeah.
really relate to that feeling. I, I maybe this year I did a thing. I got rid of my streaming services because I got into this habit during the lockdown where if I wasn't kind of making music or working online, I was just kind of watching stuff.
Yep.
And so
Easy to do.
I got rid of the streaming services, and I also sort of decided to not buy any more gear. And
Hmm.
I started taking deep dives into the modules in the case that I decided to kind of let it be my working performance case, watching other
Hmm.
people use the modules, watching other people talk about the modules, and then just really working with what I have. And it's been kind of an interesting process because you know how you can use a module and then you don't touch it for a while and then you go back to it and you forgot, like, and
Yeah.
so and then
Yeah.
that can, you know, then you have to like look it up again or look up like, wait, how do I get to this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, other world or whatever. So working past that and getting to a place where I really know what I'm working with and it feels like an instrument, that's been pretty
Mm-hmm.
inspiring. And I've been doing more shows electronically.
That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been pretty fun. I mean, my work is inspiring. Also, I've been
Yeah.
having like some of my friends come in here, like some of my friends who don't have access, who are adults, like,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
one of my friends learned how to record and program a drum machine and set up an interface, and she's been recording.
Nice. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
she found some unpublished poems by the jazz singer Abby Lincoln, and
Okay.
she's been setting them to music with a 808 drum machine,
Nice.
bass and voice, and it's so dope sounding.
That is
And
so cool.
yeah,
So yeah, that I think also to tie into that and like the learning how everything works is my brother-in-law. They live right down the road and we're really good friends, and so I'm over there all the time. Their band practice spaces, which is this really cool garage. It's all hippied out. It's got the cool tapestries and lights, and you know, he's into weed. You know, he's a weed guy, and
gotcha.
so it's, you know, but it's like a perfect place for a band to play. But they also, their guitarist is like the producer and has all of it, like a Mac. You know, he has a computer in there and all like amazing interfaces, like way better stuff than I have. But it's all just been sitting there in boxes and it hasn't been hooked up since they bought it. And my brother-in-law was joking around with me while I was staying there. I was actually putting some electrical outlets on their house for him, and he was like, "Yeah, Tyler, my bandmate, was joking around and said, we should pay Timmy $100 to get all this set up." And I was like, "I'll do that," because I just wanted to. But so and he gave me a couple pieces of gear too. So it was like about for $300, but I worked on it for like 3 or 4 days and just routed everything, made like, you know, had patch bays and just like, hey, this is
Nice.
ready to go. And then I was trying to get my brother-in-law like, all right, for you, I want to teach you how to use it so he can track himself. And he hasn't quite got there yet, but I know eventually, once he gets over the hurdle of just figuring it out and letting me teach him how to use it, he's going to be off to the races, because he's a great guitar player, great songwriter, and he's always complaining about how all of his bandmates, you know, being in a band as an adult, unless it's your job, it's like herding cats. And I was
Sure.
like, you have everything you need to, like, you can still be in this band, but you can also do your own stuff, or you can start tracking ideas. And so just like, and going back to the teaching thing, like I get so inspired if I can basically transfer my enthusiasm to somebody else, like see them catch the bug and then go off.
Yeah.
Like there's no greater feeling, you know? So yeah, it's grouped up with learning how to do all this stuff and feeling like I'm getting a hang of it is part of the excitement. Is now I can teach these people, like, this is all you need. Check it out. It's actually really easy. Yeah.
It's funny. You said transfer the enthusiasm. You know, taking this back to Willie Mae and our approach, it reminds me of the fact that when we teach, we don't chalk and talk, because you know that's what the kids get all day. It's just chalk,
Yep.
talk, chalk, talk,
Mm-hmm.
and so transferring enthusiasm really, plus maybe, I believe in the power of three, 1 to 3 concepts, is enough to kind of get our kids excited to where they get curious and they come back for more, or they start looking things
Mm-hmm.
up themselves. And
Exactly.
like,
Yeah. That excitement breeds curiosity. Yep.
and that's when that's learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like
Mm-hmm.
another level of learning. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
And it's
that's a
on
really
their terms too. So they don't feel like it's not like a career. You must learn this, like they're looking stuff up on their own. And when it's an interest rather than an obligation, I think also
exactly.
your brain is open up to making connections, So, um, but I could sit here and talk with you all day, but we just passed an hour.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
want to make sure that yeah, right. It goes fast. I
Yeah.
want to give you the last few minutes here to say anything that you wanted to talk about before we got on, or just one final plug, or send people wherever you want them to go.
Thanks, Tim. Wow. Well, first of all, I'm really grateful, and I'm glad if somebody made it all the way through this podcast. If you're still listening, if you'd like to get involved and help with Willie Mae, especially in light of some of the uncertainty that's going to be happening in the world, we have a year-end campaign coming, and we are also building an electronic music festival that
What?
we're in the process of laying the bones for that. We think that this is year one. We'll be launching the festival hopefully by year 3. So
Okay.
it's an intergenerational, community-based electronic music art symposium. So
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
please get involved. Like if you're interested, hit me up. And I also just want to remind everybody to just take really good care of themselves. And I'm going to continue to try to be kind to everybody as much as possible.
I think that's all we can do,
Yeah,
because we don't have an apparatus to really fight back, as far as like an arm of government anymore. So, and for everybody who's been on the side that I assume everybody listening has been on for the past 9 years with this demon, I think we've spent a lot of time trying to convince the people who don't think he's a demon that he is, and that is no longer our responsibility, because if he is as bad as we think he is or think he could be, we don't have to prove that to anybody. It's gonna be plain. So there's a sense of relief there. Maybe this is naivete, though. It certainly is. I'm almost positive. But right now, I'm looking at it like it's not my job to prove to my dad that this is bad. I'm just going to be nice. I'm not going to try to convince anybody what they should believe. I'm just going to try to lead by example and be patient and kind. And
well, the struggle continues. There's the work is the
exactly.
way. The work is the way.
Mm-hmm.
Find whatever work
Mm-hmm.
that is and just keep pushing. So thank you, Tim.
That's the perfect place to end. Thank you so much for coming back on and showing us your amazing studio.
Yeah, good to see you.
Okay, that's our show. Thank you to Frae Frae for joining us. Thank you to 4MS, Master, Narration, Expert Sleepers, Signal Sounds, and finally, thank you for consuming this content. If you would like to support Podmod, there are links in the show description. Oh, and also don't forget to join the Podmod Discord server if you want access to the collaboration chat and access to a very nice community of Podmod listeners. It's free. Okay, that about does